Welcome to the Unitarian Church of Evanston. I'm Reverend Allison Farnham. I am currently serving as your sabbatical minister, only for a few more days. This is my last day in the pulpit with you in this role. I am so grateful for the opportunity to have been present for this congregation and for the amazing staff here and the board. What a gift. So whether this is your spiritual home or you're newly discovering this community, it's good to share this time together. We strive to be an inclusive and welcoming community, seeking truth in love and nurturing the human spirit for a world made whole. We are guided by our principles and values, which remind us in every moment and through every challenge that each of us is worthy of love. And we're all connected through a vast and beautiful web of existence. We come together to remember our kinship with one another and to hold one another in heart and mind with tenderness and careful attention. If you're joining us online, there are many links of connection in the description below the YouTube live stream, including the order of service credits, ways to support our mission, and how to join our email newsletter list. If you're in the sanctuary, we encourage you to use the QR code for the digital order of service, or just take one of the large print orders of service in the lobby. They're all in the table in the lobby, and hymnals are available right outside the sanctuary doors. We also have an inductive loop system for anyone wearing a hearing aid that's equipped with a T-coil. Your hearing aid should automatically connect if you enable the T-coil feature. For those who do not have a T-coil enabled hearing aid, we have receivers that can pick up the loop signal, and you can listen through those earphones. Those are located on the table in the lobby. So we have a few announcements, and for our first announcement, I would like to welcome Janelle Britton to tell us about the results of the sanctuary chair testing.
Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm Janelle Britton, chair of the Capital Campaign Implementation Committee, big phrase, and on the Sanctuary Chairs team. Thank you to about 106 of you who tested the 4 chairs that we had for you to check out how they felt and give us some feedback. And the grand winner was what we call the Lumen chair, which was the white one with the orange cushion. Now, when we get it, it won't be white and orange, I promise you. We'll have some more agreeable kinds of colors, but the story is not yet over. We listened to some of the feedback that people were giving us who were saying, we'd like to also look at a wood chair. And the sanctuary chair team did look at a lot of different wood chairs, the majority of which were too expensive for us and were too heavy, 30 pounds, 35 pounds, and where our chairs are about 12 pounds. However, there is one chair that is 16 to 18 pounds, with or without arms, and is within our price range. So we have decided to do another test and invite you all. So we will have the Lumen chairs and the wood chairs to compare. We'll have 2 of each, one with arms, one without arms, different colors. You can give us feedback, and we'll probably be near the end of June when we'll be able to make arrangements for all of that. And also, I wanted to let you know, some of you were asking, especially if you are new to us, why do we need new chairs? Some people have been with us for a while. No. Our chairs are 55 plus years old, and they are breaking, unfortunately. Over a 7-year time span, for example, we repaired, which means we glued, 132 broken chairs. Additionally, there are still 57 broken chairs that we have not repaired, and 30 that are beyond repair. When a chair breaks and someone is sitting in it, they can get hurt. So we want to provide a safe place for people to come for worship, for our rentals to come for weddings and memorials and other kinds of events. So that's why we need new chairs. So check out the newsletter for when we're going to have the next chair test. See you at the end of June.
Also, this Thursday, May 25th, from 4 to 5, we're invited to join our Native Communities Solidarity Team at the Mitchell Museum for a special presentation on Indigenous peoples' history of Chicagoland by Josie Starr, the Director of Operations at the museum. Space is limited, so check the newsletter for the registration link. And Yo Fresh Cafe is coming next Sunday. The Real team will be hosting an ice cream social during kinship time. They'll be outside on the south lawn where we can make new friends, build your own frozen yogurt froyo sundae, play games, make paper flowers for the 100th anniversary of the Flower Communion Sunday, and just have fun. After our worship service today is our annual congregational meeting. All right, I love that enthusiasm. So, if you are in person, please make sure you check in at the back table. And if you are on Zoom, please be patient as we mark attendance and allow entry into the meeting. As soon as we have a quorum, we will start the meeting. So now, let us settle into a time of worship, that time when we center that which is of worth in our lives. A time for reflection, celebration, and inspiration. And as we begin our worship service, those joining us online, you're invited to gather your chalice as we join in beloved community. Welcome to worship.
Thank you. Good morning. Our land and labor acknowledgements. These are our weekly reminder about how our U.S. culture was formed and shaped. It is a call to relationship across identities. It is a call to slow down, to recognize each other's personal experiences, and to move forward with thought and care. The Unitarian Church of Evanston resides on land that was recorded as being transferred from the local Potawatomi community to the U.S. government in 1829, when that was the only choice left for the Potawatomi before being forcefully removed west of the Mississippi River. This land was then sold to white settlers. We remember the minds and bodies of the Black people who built up our country's culture and economy, a role forced on them originally by enslavement. We are indebted to their labor and their resilience since 1619. Acknowledging the tremors of violence throughout the generations and the resulting impact that we still witness today. These acknowledgements are one small effort toward building long-term solidarity with contemporary communities. We commit ourselves to take what we learn here today and incorporate it into our lives and turn our thoughts into actions. Please join in our words of shared commitment that are on the screen. We name these realities with honor for all the ancestors, with respect for our descendants, and with gratitude for the land that we use as sacred space. The Board of Trustees brought flowers in recognition of our shared ministry and our commitment to our UCE community as we prepare for today's annual meeting. As board members light our chalice, symbol of our living tradition, we join in saying, "We Covenant" by Janice Marie Johnson. The words are on the screen. Covenants are intentional. Covenants are audacious. Covenants are a promise that can change our lives together in this faith. Together, we will be stronger. Together, we will be wiser. Together, we will be gentler. We promise to recognize our uniqueness, to treasure our faith, to honor our neighbors with holiness. We covenant to be committed to each other, to consider each as significant, to consider each as valuable. We covenant. Adam, could you advance the slide? The audacity of our covenant, the promise of our covenant now and in years to come. May it be so. Please rise in body or spirit and join in saying the words of our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Before we sing our opening hymn, for those of you participating in the chat at home, please welcome each other in the chat. And for those in the sanctuary, please turn and greet your neighbor. hopefully finding someone you don't know very well. I would typically invite you to stay after the service to talk to each other, but this time I want you to stay after the service and check in for the annual meeting and then talk to each other. Please join in singing all 3 verses of The Fire of Commitment.
Good morning, everyone. Today's Time for All Ages is a story that comes from, I think, Burma, a Thai folktale called It's Not My Problem. And please participate when appropriate. Once upon a time, a queen sat on her balcony eating rice cakes and honey with her chief advisor. As they ate, they gazed down the busy street below, and the queen pointed to something, and as she did, a drop of honey fell down to the street below. Yes. "My queen," said the advisor, "you have spilled a drop of honey. Shall I call someone to clean that up?" The queen laughed. A little drop of honey. "It's not my problem." You're catching on. "Somebody will clean it up later, right?" So they went on eating their rice cakes, and the honey kind of just sat there and warmed up in the sun and slowly began to drip down the railing and landed plop, plop all over, and it oozed a little bit. And the queen just kind of yawned a little bit lazily and said, "A little drop of honey with a few flies on it isn't really going to matter. Someone will deal with later because it's not my problem." But soon a lizard came darting out. Oh yes, yum, yum, yum. And you know what happened next? Yep, because lizards do what? They eat flies. Yes, that's what attracted the lizard to the honey, because the flies were on the honey. And then a cat sprang out from the baker's shop and began to swat the lizard back and forth like a little toy, like cats do. And then, of course, a dog came out of the butcher's shop and began to bite at the cat. "Your Highness," said the advisor, "now the flies have attracted a lizard, which attracted a cat, which attracted a dog, which is now attacking your cat. And shouldn't we call somebody to fix this problem and stop this fight?" Well, of course, the queen just kind of stretched, shook her head, and said, "Well, it's not my problem. Somebody surely will come see to it." And in fact, the baker did see to it. Well, she saw the dog attacking the cat and ran out to save it. But then the butcher heard the dog howling and ran out with his broom and began to hit the cat. And pretty soon the butcher and the baker were hitting each other. And then all the other shopkeepers come running out, and they were taking a little sides here and there, because some people were friends with the baker and some with the butcher. And pretty soon it grew into this big battle with people fighting all over in the street. And then it escalated, throwing rocks at windows. I mean, really silly. And they tipped over vending carts. And then someone picked up a torch, yes, and threw it through a window. And you know what happened then? A fire started. And the fire spread. And pretty soon it engulfed the palace. Yes. So later that day, when the fire kind of died down, the queen and her advisor kind of looked over the ruins of the palace. And suddenly the queen stopped in the street and looked down, and guess what she saw? A drop of honey. You're so right. I guess I should have cleaned up that honey in the first place. Now my whole kingdom has been ruined because of it. And that was the last day the queen ever said, "It's not my problem." So I ask you, who in this story would have made a difference if they had done something? Everybody, right? Duh. So when you think about it, and there's a problem at work or school or here in the congregation, instead of saying, "It's not my problem," we work together to fix it. The end.
To a time of quiet reflection as we share the joys and the sorrows and the milestones of this community as a part of a practice of beloved community. If you have a joy or a sorrow you would like spoken aloud, you may write it in the Joys and Sorrows book, which when you arrive is in the back of the sanctuary. And you can also submit through a Google form online on the homepage of our website, or you can email one of the ministers. We listen to these offerings with tenderness and respect. So let's all quiet our bodies as much as our bodies will allow, and our voices during this sacred time by breathing in together and breathing out. These are the joys and sorrows that have been shared for our community to hold this Sunday. From Curtis Evans. Saddened to learn about a racial incident at our rummage sale here inside these walls. Black lives don't matter unless Black people matter. Jean Butson is recovering well from her surgery. She and Jim want to thank so many people at the Unitarian Church of Evanston for their support. We loved and needed all the superb food. Thanks. Thanks to Sandra for bringing the inimitable Peter Mayer to us Friday evening. He's always great. That's from Kristen Lems. This sacred space for our tender offerings is a part of the practice of beloved community. Together, we expand our celebrations and lessen the burden of grief. You are invited to come forward or to the sides to light a candle for a joy or a sorrow or a milestone on your heart or mind today. And if you need the candle brought to you, kindly raise your hand and we'll do so. Please come forward. For these joys, we give our thanks. For these sorrows, we give our love. Please join me in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Spirit of life and love, be with us now, calling us in all the ways we are called. Knowing that we can and will nurture one another in these times of our joys and our sorrows. Spirit of wisdom, be with us so that as we light candles together every Sunday, we can continue to learn the ways of love, love made real. Be with us as we imagine a love without end that loves us through our worst mistakes, that loves us through our largest celebrations. A love that is so big, it is like a circle drawn wider than we can ever imagine, that holds us all, that knows us and reminds us of our connectedness with all that is, all that was, and all that will be. Continue to open our hearts to the teachings of love made real. And let it be that as we work toward that holy vision of beloved community, where everyone's needs are met, that we also commit to the small moments, that we tend to our bodies and our spirits when we hurt and when we are hurt, that we find solace and comfort in this community, and that we also meet the challenges to which our faith calls us. And Spirit of comfort and care, let us feel held by the network of hands and hearts that is greater than the sum of its parts as we work to make love real in this world, always calling each other in with love. Blessed be. Ashe. Salam. Shalom. Amen. As we sing our response, our young people, kindergarten through 12th grade, are invited to head to their faith formation time with adult leaders. Circle round for freedom.
Circle round for freedom.
drawing our circle ever wider and wider. As we say in our covenant each Sunday, service is our law. UCE is called by our mission, values, and principles to contribute to our community, to form accountable partnerships, and to express gratitude through giving. Today's offering will be shared with the Neurodiversity Foundation, which is organized by the Neurodiverse for the Neurodiverse. They provide a platform for autistic advocates to speak to their experience and provide language for others to do the same, offering programs in which autistic people mentor one another to build skills and strength for meaningful work in the world. You may text to give or mail in a check or give from our website. If you write a check, please indicate in the memo line if your check is for the shared offering or some other giving. The ushers will now come forward for our collection to pass the bowls down the rows. Please give as generously as you are able, and may what you give bring you joy. Thank you for that moving music, Gregory, and thank you all for your generosity.
What a gift it is to be in community and also to be in solidarity with one another. Every Sunday, we light candles for our joys and sorrows, and I just want to invite you to take a moment to take in these candles. Whether you're joining us streaming live or here in this space, whether you have lit a candle for something that is so deeply hidden in your heart, that we're doing something special when we come together, inviting spaces of restoration, of care, connection, and healing. And part of being in community, in creating circles of care with each other, means that there are times when things don't go the way we wished them to. There are the oopses and the ouches, the times when we hurt each other, usually unintentionally. We've taken time to reflect over this sabbatical time about vulnerability, about creativity, about resilience, resistance. And there are more opportunities coming up for you as you welcome Reverend Eileen back into this place. We took time to sing a song that said, "I need you, you need me." We also sang, "I won't harm you with words from my lips. I love you, I need you to survive." And even as I sing those words every time, I know that we live in a world where we harm each other. Dear ones, harm happens. If we think it doesn't, it does. It happens through all kinds of ways, and it's always uninvited. It's not part of a larger plan or purpose. This is me sharing my theology. I understand you have your own. And we have opportunities in those instances when we encounter harm, whether it's a harm from another person or harm from a virus that won't quit, or from a diagnosis that was unwelcomed. Whatever it is, we have moments as individuals to make a choice about how to respond in that moment. And even those responses sometimes are more like reactions. And that is a very human thing to do. We're not the Unitarian Universalist Church of gods and goddesses, although y'all are really awesome. We're a church of human beings. But I do actually want to share with you that we could be and recognize that we could be like mushrooms. Adrienne Marie Brown wrote a book, it's a small pamphlet actually, called "We Will Not Cancel Us." Mushrooms are a great teacher, she writes. One of our oldest ancestors, mycelium mushrooms, show us that the instance of life we can witness, the mushroom, is always evidence of much more complex and wider network of connections underground. The same thing is true with conflict and harm. We're all connected to each other at our best and at our worst. The instances of visible dissonance, harm, and abuse are evidence of toxicity in our intersecting systems of identity. Belonging, resource, power, and home. One toxic substance is supremacy, so ubiquitous it has long been invisible to those benefiting from it and can seem desirable even to those suffering from it. It manifests as white supremacy, male supremacy, straight supremacy, ableist supremacy, cis supremacy, and more. The belief that some of us are normal, are better, are justified to take and do whatever we want, including harm each other and the earth. We won't end the systemic patterns of harm by isolating and picking off individuals, just as we can't limit the communicative power of mycelium by plucking a single mushroom from the dirt. We need to flood the entire system with life-affirming principles and practices to clear the channels between us of the toxicity of supremacy, to heal from the harms of a legacy of devaluing some lives and needs in order to indulge others. Mycelium looks much the same way our brains look. Networks of data, communication, nourishment flowing in every direction. Mycelium can help us learn how to process conflict and harm into life and beauty. Mycelium help us see ourselves. She goes on to invite us to put on mycelial glasses. to see ourselves, thank you, yes, put them on, to see ourselves in this place of connectedness. And this book was actually written in response to some of the issues that she was coming across in different movements where people were calling each other out, singling people out for wrong behavior with a sense of righteousness. That what she found and what she writes is that it doesn't necessarily serve our longer visions of being loving in the world. And at the same time, how important is it to name when things go wrong so that we can begin to recognize, oh, that drop of honey. What was it that the Queen said? And then all around in the end is ashes. And so the opportunity to come together, I bring to mind a shift from thinking about mushrooms to thinking about circles. I had the opportunity and the privilege of benefiting from the family circle training that was hosted here in the congregation. It was brought to us with the help from Steve Sarakaku. Thank you for that. And inviting restorative justice circle practices into our family life. Now, why would this be happening in a church, I wonder? The reason is that congregations and churches in particular have a power, especially in Unitarian Universalism, to introduce different approaches of how we respond when harm happens. And so in circles, if there was a drop of honey, in the middle of the circle, is there a queen up high who should be responding? It's everyone. Everyone has an opportunity to own that honey. Honey. And there's a sweetness to all holding each other in the space, holding ourselves accountable. We even had a guideline that we wrote that I really appreciated, which was to take care of yourself. And so if there was someone, for some reason, who couldn't clean up that honey, that the talking piece would come and say, I can't clean that up right now. My body is in pain. I can't lean over to clean that up. I wonder if someone else is willing. Of recognizing our bodies in the space, that we speak and listen from the heart, and that we take the time that we need while being mindful that others need to have time as well. Now, in our family circles, we could talk about different values, from compassion or taking on different issues that a family might have. But the circles work in any kind of capacity. I wonder if this congregation would want to get together in circles. Circles for restorative justice, where there are potentially ways of engendering healing and repair in this community, but also beyond the walls that we create together, whether we're coming in online or here in person. I wonder what it would be like to have a different framework. A restorative justice framework doesn't ask what the status quo asks. What law was broken? Who broke it? What punishment is deserved? A restorative justice framework, and also what I believe is a Unitarian Universalist theological framework, when no one is outside the circle of love, instead asks the question, how were you harmed? What do you need? Whose obligation is it to meet those needs? I believe that we are so deeply influenced by the waters that we swim in, that it is hard for us to begin to understand ourselves as a collective, as a circle. And yes, when we get together for the annual meetings, there are hierarchies, but those hierarchies are even then, you've been forming circles. Did you see the board when they came up to light the chalice? They were holding each other. We have to hold each other. There's no one queen. I don't have all the answers. Do you? No. So it's everyone's problem. So when we call each other in, we embrace and live deeply into a covenantal theology that understands that we are going to mess up. And I'm sure you've heard, if you've been Unitarian Universalist for a long time, you have heard the quote from Martin Buber, the Jewish theologian, who says, "We are promise-making and promise-breaking creatures." Because I think every Unitarian Universalist minister uses that quote at least 3 times a year in a sermon. This is who we are. And so calling each other out for wrongdoing doesn't necessarily take responsibility for the whole system. And at the same time, when we circle together and when we ask those questions of who is harmed, what does that person need, and who is obligated to meet those needs, we have opportunities to go upstream against a punitive culture and to form new ways of healing and repair. So the challenging situation that came up during the rummage sale, where a lot of white folks didn't necessarily notice the racial dynamics going on and conflict and harm that was happening, this is a situation where either folks can call each other out, check out, and wash their hands of the situation, or we can call each other in. And we can have potent, powerful, generative, creative conversations in a structured, facilitated, beautifully contained way, guided by our covenants of how we want to be together. And that we can be guided by the principles of love and of the idea that everything is still possible. Paulo Freire writes in The Pedagogy of the Oppressed, "In order for the oppressed to be able to wage the struggle for their liberation, they must perceive the reality of oppression not as a closed world from which there's no exit, but as a limiting situation which they can transform." So are incidents that come up where there's harm limiting situations, or can they be opportunities for transformation? As we circle together in this time, as we have been circling together in this time, we are invited to continue to reflect on all the ways that this community can be vulnerable with one another, can also be part of resisting oppression and working towards collective liberation, and also embracing creative approaches that deeply, deeply live into our Unitarian Universalist values and the vision that no one is outside the circle of love. So, dear ones, I know that the work is ahead of you, and I trust that you will do it, and you will welcome Reverend Eileen back with great rejoicing. So it's with that I leave this stool for her to take up again. Thank you so much.
As we extinguish our chalice, please join in saying the words on the screen by Reverend Elizabeth Sell Jones as the board extinguishes our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Please rise, embody your spirit, and join in singing our closing hymn, number 354, We Laugh, We Cry, and we'll sing verses 1 and 4.
Beloveds, hold yourselves up. Call each other in when you speak the truth in love. And always embrace that great covenant to help one another, creating circles of love and healing. And as you meet in this time for your annual meeting, please always hold dear that how you do things is just as important as what you do. Blessed be.